So my session, again, real life stories of data technology. I'm excited for this opportunity to speak to you and introduce these great people. Some of the things that I wanted to sort of introduce some concepts before, but there's a lot of things that were said today that really resonated with me. Things like challenges and objectives and how we overcome those. And I think this group is going to do a good job of helping you guys talk about what their challenges were, how they started a company or how they're CEO of a company and what they did. Because, you know, I think it's as simple as what three things do we think about as marketers or businesses? We want to acquire new customers. We want to expand new customers. We want to build brand loyalty, but we've got competition. We've got a lot of challenges. And what are some of those tactics that we can do to help that? You know, audience segmentation, personalization. We've heard a lot about that. Data, but what are the impediments? Budget, access to the data, people to do that. So my group is going to touch on some of these and how they overcame challenges and how they grew their business. And so I'm excited for their stories. So first up is the CEO of Invoca, Gregg Johnson. Gregg, you want to come on up? I'm going to give you this. Hold on, Gregg. He didn't want to brag about himself, but I want to read this because it's a great bio. Gregg is not only CEO, he started this journey in 2016 with Invoca. He's got a background in sales and marketing. He started at Boston Consulting Group, was a leader at Salesforce, actually started their, Salesforce Chatter, led that, some of the social media or social, interaction, innovation.
I contributed to the deterioration of society.
Thank you, yes.
That is correct. Just kidding.
I feel like we work better than Jeff and I worked together. I think maybe you and I would just stay up here. Jeff graduated from Stanford. When that wasn't good enough, he decided to go back and get his MBA at Wharton Business School and Johns Hopkins. So I would like to see your transcripts because I think people make up stuff on LinkedIn. I want to make sure you're not doing that. But everyone, Gregg Johnson from Invoca.
Thank you. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Tim. First of all, it's great to see people. It's great to be back at a real in-life event. And I want to start by saying thank you to the teams at Infutor and Jornaya. We've been partners with both organizations for a long time. And so it's really exciting to see kind of the next step in the evolution of these two companies and what they're doing together with Verisk. Tim, thank you for the kind introduction. I appreciate that. So in terms of quick background, Invoca is a software company based out in California. We work predominantly with organizations like many of yours, where consumers are making very complicated, potentially life-altering purchase decisions. And what that ends up meaning in terms of the customer journey is that these consumers will go out, they will learn more about products and services via digital. So they go to Google, they go to Microsoft, they go to Facebook, and start learning about these products and services. They go to the website. But ultimately, as part of the buying journey, these consumers are looking to be confident that they're making the right decision. And so they end up having conversations with individuals who represent a brand to really help give them confidence that they're buying the right product, the right service for either themselves or for the members of their family, et cetera, et cetera. So if you think about industries like financial services, or if you think about healthcare, telecommunications, various other things like that, these are all purchase journeys that start in the world of digital, but ultimately the moment of truth where the customer makes that buying decision happens in a human-to-human conversation with someone in a contact center or someone at a local retail store. And so the example that I like to think about when we talk about this process is one that many of you have probably experienced yourselves, which is buying a house. I think about myself, as you heard Tim say, I'm a very quantitative person. I used to do spreadsheet junkie work as a management consultant. I have an MBA. I'm very quantitative, but when my wife and I were thinking about getting our very first house, I did a bunch of research on what was the right product, or what I thought was the right product for our family. But ultimately, before making that buying decision, I wanted to speak to an expert and get reassurance that I was getting the right product, that my mortgage would close in time and fund in time for me to get the house of my dreams, where I'm gonna raise my kids. And so the whole process of getting a mortgage was very, very stress-inducing, if you've ever been through that. And every time I think I've figured out mortgages and I go to refinance, I remember how stress-inducing it is all over again. And so how does Invoca play into this? Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna show you a quick example of the consumer journey. And on the left, you're gonna see what the consumer, someone like me or you in your personal life, is doing. And on the right, we're gonna show you the types of data that we're able to collect to help marketers, to help e-commerce teams, to help sales teams drive a more efficient, more effective consumer buying experience. And so, as with most products and services that we buy today, we start off by looking on Google, if I'm looking for getting a mortgage for my first home. And then when I go and I do that search on Google, within Invoca, we're able to get some of the information about what was the search keyword that the consumer was originally looking for. What was the marketing campaign that actually drove that specific click that led to the website? And then as I'm browsing around the website as a consumer, we're able to connect that ID with something like an Adobe Analytics or a Google Analytics that you use to analyze your website performance. And then we can start to pick up the scent of the digital buying behavior. What's the consumer interested in? What is it that they want to ultimately look at buying? So we can start to understand if they look at mortgage calculators for a first-time home purchase or things like that, we can see that they're interested in purchase mortgage. They're not here to refinance. They don't have a house already. They're looking to buy for the very first time. And then ultimately, if they reach out and they want to have a conversation with a loan officer in order to help make sure they're making the right buying decision, we understand where they called from. We get that unique identifier that's typically a mobile phone, where most people are having these conversations. And then what we can do is we can enrich that data with insight from Infutor to understand, is this someone who currently has an existing mortgage? What zip code are they in? What does that mean for their mortgage purchase decision? And then we can provide all of this data in real time to the person who's picking up the phone and having this conversation live with this consumer to help deliver the right experience for them. So that person's not on the phone going, Greg, are you here to refinance your existing home? Because we've seen based on the website behavior, and we've seen with the data from Infutor and Jornaya that this is somebody who's actually looking to buy a home for the very first time. And then what's really interesting, and for me as a technologist I'm really excited about, is we're able to use AI to understand this human-to-human conversation. We can understand how far did the consumer go in the buying journey? Did they actually request a quote, or did they not? Did the conversation go well, or was there an escalation to a manager? And this helps identify what's the next logical step in this consumer journey. What should the brand be focused on doing with them next? And then we spend a lot of time integrating this data into all of the marketing, customer engagement, technology platforms that brands typically use to engage with consumers. That can be an advertising platform like Google or Facebook or Microsoft. That can be something used to analyze your website like Adobe. That can be a CRM like Salesforce or a contact center platform. And so a lot of the work that we do is around integrating and taking that data that we found from the website behavior, from the digital engagement, and from Infutor and Jornaya, and getting that into the customer engagement stack. So to wrap up, how does this data get used? If you're a brand out in the audience today, what types of teams will actually activate and use this data? Well, the first is a marketing team. Because if you're a marketer who spends a lot of money and investment on digital marketing, but ultimately drives all your revenue through the contact center, you need to be able to connect the dots between those two things to understand which marketing campaigns work well and which don't, so you can optimize your budget. We work with the e-commerce teams who are trying to drive more basic conversions, more simple transactions through e-commerce. And we help them understand, did somebody escalate to the contact center because they really needed help? Or did somebody escalate to the contact center because your e-commerce experience isn't all that hot? Third team is in sales, ultimately giving data to the sales teams to help them convert and coach and provide the best insight they can to these consumers, using AI to help every rep have better conversations and provide deeper levels of service to the customer. And then finally, to customer experience teams, so that you can look at the entire customer journey from that very first ad impression all the way through the moment of sale and look at that holistically across all the customers that are buying from you in order to optimize that experience end to end. And so for us, what we're really focused on is how do we bring the best elements of the human touch and the digital experience together? Because our fundamental belief is that human touch is still a very unique, very powerful way for brands to differentiate. And so we're really focused on how do you as a brand bring together the combination of great digital experience with great human-to-human experience and use that to help you drive revenue and growth in your business.
Thank you, Gregg. Everyone, Gregg Johnson, thank you.